Welcome to Girl F Them Kids, the podcast where faith meets real talk for remarried Christian moms who are tired of putting themselves and their marriages on the back burner. My name is Dr. True, and I went from my marriage feeling like hell because the kids were running things to feeling like heaven because I put things in the proper order: God, husband, and then kids. Inside of my coaching program, I help you cut parenting related arguments in half, reignite intimacy with your husband through simple weekly rhythms, and feel spiritually grounded so your faith strengthens family life instead of draining it. And you can take your home from hellacious to harmonious. Get ready for candid conversations, biblical truth, and a healthy dose of spice to help you prioritize your marriage, protect your peace, and put your house in order. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, today we're going to be talking about when your kids don't respect your husband and what you can do about that. So, when we're talking about kids being disrespectful, I'm talking specifically about maybe talking back, maybe giving the silent treatment, the side eye, not following instructions. I am not quite dealing with any type of overt physical violence. Like if you have a child that like to swing on people, like I'm not talking about that because that's a whole different type of situation. I'm talking about the things that are, a little bit more low key that can kind of slide or fly under the radar, but are still pretty disrespectful. So, the very first thing you want to do is understand what the root of the disrespect is. Disrespect often comes from feelings of insecurity, feelings of loyalty conflicts, grief over how the family dynamic has shifted, and testing boundaries because kids test boundaries. That's just what they do, that's how they learn. So you have to take into consideration that even though for you, this is a change for the better, that doesn't necessarily apply to the kids in their life. Sometimes it does, but sometimes, even when it does, they still may have those feelings of, oh no, my world just got turned upside down. And so you have to understand that it may not necessarily be that they're trying to intentionally be disrespectful, but in the process of them trying to navigate this new life experience, the actions that they're taking or the phrases that they're choosing to use are disrespectful. So behavior is again a very clear way that children communicate. Perfect example is if, the kid comes home and they're just like, ugh, just sad, walking slow, shoulders slumped, head down. And you ask them, oh, well, how was your day at school today? And they're just like, oh, it was fine. You know good and well that it was not fine. Something happened for them to have that posture, for them to be behaving that way. So even when their words are saying one thing, sometimes their body language and behavior will tell you the truer story. Um, and you have to approach that carefully, especially if you have a child who, let's say, they are a bit more private and to themselves, and they see it as more of a violation when you like continually press, question. So you want to be careful to not push too hard to get to the root of it. Take your time, and as time progresses, just try to find different ways to enter into that conversation. A thing that worked very well with me and my kids is that I did let them know that, if you ever feel uncomfortable about anything, or if you ever feel like you need to talk to me about something, even if it wasn't pertaining to their stepfather or me, the marriage, the new living situation, just whatever it is that is causing you distress, I need you to know that you can come and talk to me, even if it's about me. And, initially they were like, oh, okay. And then still didn't say nothing. But once they saw, because they tested the waters a couple times, with telling me just little things. And, I let them talk. And I just reminded them, like, hey, don't say nothing reckless, but you can tell me exactly how you feel. And once they saw that I genuinely meant, like, no, but talk to me, they started to open up more and share more, which helped me to understand where they were coming from and understand that a lot of the actions they were taking were not intentional. And when I actually pointed them out to them, they were looking at me like they were surprised that they did it. And I'm like, dude, you were there. It was you. But they're like, oh, that's not how I meant that. And they were unaware of how they were coming off. So, again, you want to address with the kids any types of feelings of insecurity. Sometimes they feel like they're being replaced by the new spouse. They feel like if they get along with this step parent, that they're somehow betraying the other parent. We have dealt with that a lot with our youngest, and things are better. However, for him, it definitely was a huge loyalty conflict. And of course, just the shift in family dynamics was something for everyone to get used to. And, for me, it's great. But for them, it was like, yikes. Like, who this man living in here with us? Like, I mean, he cool, but he live here now? And I'm like, yeah. So the next thing would be to make sure that you're establishing a unified front without trying to force instant obedience. So, as the biological parent, I had to make sure that I took lead in the discipline early on. And then my husband, as their stepfather, focused on connecting with them, building relationship, and supporting me in whatever discipline that I had to enforce. When we first got married, that was not the arrangement. We both come from families where our parents are still married to each other. So we were going based off of what we knew growing up, and that absolutely did not work. And so if my husband was giving them an instruction, like even if it was something just as simple as, hey, make sure you get the dishes done tonight, or okay, on Tuesday evening, I need you to take the trash out. They would take that as almost an attack, almost as if, and not even almost, like they literally would just like look at him like, who are you to tell me what to do? And then they would look at me like, you gonna let him tell us what to do? And I'm just like, I mean, well, dude, do the dishes. Like, yeah, actually, the trash does need to be taken out. But after, I want to say the first 6 months is when we realized just how horrible things were going. And we were not a united front. We were trying so hard to do it the way that we thought it should be done, that it wasn't working for anybody. So we had to take the step back, get ourselves together. And then I had to actually step back into the role of being the dominant parent. So for the kids, that there was a very clear shift when I stepped back into that role. To be fair, they were accustomed to me being the dominant parent. Like I have been that their whole lives. Like, mommy's the one you always go to if you need something done. Mommy's the one who will help you with this. Um, it's always mommy. So they were so used to that that when we finally got it together and made that switch, and I was back in charge of being that main voice that communicated with them, you could see the sense of ease like just drift over them, and everything in the house just got better because we removed that tension point that wasn't even necessary. Now, I will say, in the process of me being the one that is the dominant parent, they are aware that I do discuss everything with their stepfather. Like, we make decisions together. It's just that I'm the one who will deliver any type of like hard instructions unless he absolutely has to. But for the most part, we talk and then I deliver the info. What this did also was it helped them give him more respect. So, fun story about that is previously in another life, I teaching them to be respectful to their other parent was not at the top of my priority list. The top of my priority list was to make sure they had everything they needed. And if that meant some disrespect happened, then it happened. And I didn't encourage it, but I also didn't care. So I wouldn't necessarily correct it unless they were just like wilding out completely. So I rarely dealt with disrespect. I would say I probably dealt with like the normal amount, especially when you're dealing with like preteens and teens, that they're just pushing and testing anyway because they're trying to figure out what they're doing with their life. But for their other parent, there was some slick stuff that would be said. There would be some blatant times that he may say, "Hey, well, why don't we do this?" And I would shut it down. And I'm like, "No, this is what we're doing." And the kids would just come along with me and do it. So to now shift to they see me all the time like, "Hey, I got to talk to Mr. Justin about it first, but I'm gonna let you know." Or I let them know like, "Hey, we already talked about it." Or even if they, because sometimes what they'll do is they just go straight to him because it's like we already know. Like if we go to mommy, like she just gonna ask you, so we just gonna ask you. But what that did was that put us in a position to not only appear united but actually be united. And that helped almost kind of like transfer some of the respect that they have for me as their mom over to him because they saw how much I respected him and how highly in esteem I held him. And so like they know me. They know that if I don't respect somebody, it's very clear in how I talk and how I act. Which is crazy work, but also like that is what it is. It is very apparent when I am operating from a place of there is no respect. So for them to see that shift in me and see me parenting a different way and see me being a wife a different way, it helped them see, oh, well, this is how this should go. Oh, okay. So like they're together, we can't really pit them against each other. All right, well, we got to play the game their way. And so that made that a whole lot easier. Another thing is you want to make sure that you model respect. Don't just demand it. What I mean by that is number one, children will always copy what they see. And it's kind of like when you tell someone, do as I say, not as I do, they're going to do as you do because that's what you show them. That's what sticks. And so by me demonstrating how I honor and respect my husband, even when we're not on the same page with something, that is teaching the kids what respect looks like. There actually there's been a few times that we were not in agreement on something, and usually it's never anything big, but again I say I know my face, like my facial expressions be saying a whole lot of things, and so we had a family meeting one time, and he made a suggestion, and I know I made a face because the kids looked at each other and smirked and then looked at me again and I was just like, dang, I need to fix that. But what I ended up doing is even though my face just did what it was going to do, when I responded, I was not snapping, I was not loud, I was not rude. Um I've never called him out of his name. Um I didn't put down the idea. I didn't say, nah, we're not doing that. We're going to do it this way. I definitely was like, hey, nah, but can we go talk about this real quick and then circle back to it being a group conversation because I need to talk this through with you. But that gave them a perfect example of you can disagree with someone and it not have to be disrespectful. Like you don't have to have an argument. You can disagree and not be fighting. You just have a difference of opinion, and it doesn't really matter how much you love someone. You're still a completely different person. Like, yeah, within marriage, like we are one, but also I'm still me. He is still him. We still see things differently. We were raised in similar ways, but there are some very key differences that, during some serious conversations, those differences come up real quick. And it's like, oh, we actually don't agree on how to handle this. But in that disagreeing, there's still respect. Um, Another thing is making use of family meetings and a shared language. So, setting household expectations together is a great thing to do. Now, let me be very transparent. We sucked at that for a very long time. We're actually still working on that. Like, there are some things that are like very clearly an expectation within the house. Like, it is like that is a thing. Like bring your trash down when it's time to take the trash out. Bringing the recycling. Like there are things that is like it's just an expectation. Like put your dishes in the sink. Put your dishes in the dishwasher. Like do your laundry because ain't nobody got a maid up in here. But we also tried to set too many expectations at the same time, I think. So I don't believe it's necessarily bad to have a lot of expectations, but I would caution you against trying to just like overhaul the entire family all at once. Start small, like give like little things, like one at a time, maybe two at max. Let everyone get adjusted to that expectation and then add on the next thing and just gradually start building and stacking them instead of just one fell swoop because that was real ghetto. It ain't work out. The kids should also have input on some of the boundaries so that they feel that they are being heard, even though they should also be very clear on the fact that they are not in charge. Perfect example of that for us is the dishes. So we have gone back and forth with so many different ways of assigning who's going to do these dishes. And so the kids actually came up with, okay, well, can everybody just rinse their stuff off and put it in the dishwasher? And I was like, okay, let's try it. Now, the issue was that would work if there was also an arrangement of who's putting the clean dishes up. Because if the dishwasher is full of clean dishes, then the sink gets full of dirty dishes again because you can't put them in the dishwasher. So that was I'll take the L for the whole family on that one because that should have been clarified also as a part of that. But as much as my husband does not like this arrangement, this has been the one that the kids have most consistently stuck to. And again, because we did not necessarily like designate who's going to put things up, there have been some bumps in the road with that. But for the most part, they've been very on board with that. And honestly, I do think it's because they're the ones who came up with that idea. So even though, like they know they don't run the house, they feel that at least their input is being valued and they're being heard, which ties us back into demonstrating respect in the same way that you want to demonstrate the respect between you and your spouse so they know how in relationships, be it romantic, friendships, other family relationships, so they know how to um, show that type of respect when relating to someone else. You also want to show them respect because, yes, that's your child, but they're still a person. Like they're a whole little human being, a whole big human being if you got some older kids. And so the more you actually show them respect, it helps them to understand how to show it to others. So you're giving them multiple different angles to approach this thing from. So definitely make sure that you're showing them respect, of which you can do so by allowing them to help set some of the boundaries. Um, as for having shared consistent language, when we talk about coming home, it's just, all right, we're about to go home. It's not, okay, well, you're going to come to my house, or, okay, well, you're coming to me and Justin's house. It's like, no, you're coming home. And, it's not necessarily on me to do the same for any other location that they may be going to, but I try to at least here where I can control things, make sure that we're speaking in such a way that it's like, no, we are in this thing together. We are communicating together. We are a family together. And that no matter what happens, we are in this thing together. So it's our home. We are going out. We are doing this thing. Oh, this is for us, like anything that helps to tie us all together and let us be seen as a family unit, we lean towards that. Now, again, you want to be very careful, especially when you are earlier on in the transition, that you're not forcing that shared language. For a very long time, I couldn't even refer to their stepfather as their stepfather. Like I just had to say Mr. Justin because they would be looking at me like that ain't my daddy. And I'm just like, I know my guy. I ain't married to him. So I ain't do that. I ain't say that to them. I might have actually. I don't know. But anyways, I say all that to say, don't force it. You don't want them to feel like you're trying to erase their previous life, that you're trying to erase the relationship that you had or that you had with their prior parent, like it never existed, that you're trying to kind of brainwash them into this is the only home you have. We're your only real family. Like you don't want to put them in that situation because you're more than likely going to get a lot of pushback on that. But you do want to just, here and there, you just drop it in, but like, hey, we're going home. And that's actually the thing that I started with the kids is like just referring to in general the house as we are going home. And from there, we just, gradually dropped things in. And then for some of it, just let them decide when they were ready to do it. So for the boys, they are very much, they're cool, but still have a little bit more distance. Whereas the princess, like, unprovoked I love yous. She makes it very clear. She was like, no, you are one of my parents. Like, what are you talking about? Just the other day, we were cracking up because he literally said bye to her. Like, we were going separate directions from church. He had another place to go to, and we were going to the mall. And so he said bye to her, like he was just saying bye to like a regular person. And she's like, who are you talking to? Like, you're one of my parents. Like, we live together. And so as we got outside, she's looking at me crazy, like, why would he do that? Like, we live together. And I was like, girl, he did that to me too before. It's okay. He don't mean nothing by it. Like, and so when I spoke to him later, it was the sweetest thing because he was like, he was so flustered by her saying that he just kind of panicked because she hasn't said it like in front of him as often as in front of me and like her friends. So it was just really cute actually to kind of see that and see that reaction. But she had to get to the place where she was comfortable doing that. And she is the only one who does that. Her brothers do not. So it's definitely a kid by kid situation. But as a whole, when it's something as general as the actual house that people are living in, I think that is one of the safest places to start with having that all inclusive language. And finally, you want to pray and parent from peace, not panic. So when you respond from a place of panic, a place of anger or fear, that makes any type of issues that much worse. So let's say one of the kids, says something slick. You already had a rough day. So instead of you just telling them, like, hey, that's disrespectful, you need to apologize, you end up cussing them out, hollering at them, and like taking everything they own away from them. And it's like, dang, that may have been an overreaction, but you were already angry. And so you came from that place. The same with coming from a place of fear. One of the hardest things for me was sending my kids off to school somewhere that is not close to home. And so, yeah, I'd be worried because they're just out here living their young adult life. And I'm just like, wow, my parents really let me just be out in downtown Detroit going to school and walking around. And now I got to do that and let my kids just walk around. And I am terrified. But when I talk to them, I can't let that dictate how I'm approaching them. So still giving them, parenting advice and tips and making sure that they're good, making sure that, they know when they're walking, don't have both earbuds in, take one out so you can hear what's going on around you at the same time. Keep your head on a swivel, make sure you're always looking. Don't make direct eye contact with people if you can avoid it. If you get in a position where you have to speak, just try to be as pleasant as possible and try to get yourself out of the situation. Like there's a lot of things that I'm telling them, and on the inside, no, I am terrified that they will have to, that they not that they will have to, that they do have to do these things, that they do have to learn these skills. But on the flip side, I'm not discussing it with them in such a way where it's like, oh my gosh, you have to make sure that you do it like this. Like it's no, because then they're going to be nervous and they're going to be more likely to not be paying attention because they're so on edge, or they may respond in a way that's not conducive because I've instilled now my fear and panic in them. My husband has helped tremendously with that because he can approach them with this information from a completely different standpoint. He's coming in, he likes to say, as a guidance counselor. I'm just like, okay, whatever. But he comes in from a place of, yes, he loves them and he cares for them. And he's always thinking about their well being. But he does not have the same connection to them that I do. That, like, I carried them for 9 months, birthed them. They've been with me from day one of their life on this earth. So there's a different type of connection that I have with them and a different type of worry that I have. And it is a benefit to all of us that he does not have that type of attachment, that he's able to kind of step back and see the big picture even more so. Like there are things that he has actually discussed with them or he has done with them because of how anxious I was. And he was like, hey, it's all right. I got it, because they don't need to see that energy. Like they don't need to see how scared you are. They don't need to hear the panic and anxiety in your voice. I got it. And yeah, initially I felt a little bit of a type of way because it's like, well, I'm their mom, like, of course they have to hear it from me. But taking that moment to step back and giving him the opportunity to help them through some of these situations, not only gave them an opportunity to get the information in a calm and direct manner versus probably what I would have done, but it also allows each of them to start building their own relationship with him that does not center around me having to be involved and me trying to like bring everything together and be the glue for everyone. Like they have their own individual relationships. And then I have my own individual relationships with each of them. And then as a family, we have our own relationships. So another thing that comes with making sure that you're coming from that place of peace is that you can teach the kids more easily about how respect is not just about following rules and how it's more so about being in relationship with others, showing honor, um, and I mean, yeah, just respect. And the way that coming from that peaceful place helps you to do that is that when you are in the place where you are settled and you can genuinely not only speak clearly, but speak clearly in a way that gives them all the things that they need from you in that moment. That allows them to be more receptive versus if you're, yeah, they'll remember if you yell and cuss them out. Like, yes, they will remember that. However, it will be a different type of remember for them when you're approaching it from peaceful, when you're approaching it from not a place of anger, not a place of anxiety, not a place of fear. You want them to always know that even though you are human and you have emotions and you feel things too, but they do need to actually know that you are in control of this thing. Like, yeah, we don't, as adults, we don't be knowing what we doing. Like, my generation is so unserious. Like, I don't know who let us be the new adults, but we are out here still turning up and we're looking for an adult half the time. So, the kids are looking at us like, well, y'all are the adults now. And we're just like, we're figuring it out as we go. But even in the process of us figuring it out, we still have a wealth of knowledge that they don't have yet. And it is our job to impart that to them. And if you aren't doing that from a healthy place, then you're not just imparting that information, you're also imparting whatever negativity is coming along with it, and vice versa. Like whatever positivity that you're imparting with it is also what they'll receive. So, just some things to think about. All right. So, before we wrap up, we have some tea today. I actually had someone shoot me a DM question, and she asked me, I had to write it on my sticky notes. How do I make time for intimacy when I'm exhausted every night? So, on that, the first thing that comes to mind for me is be intentional. Be very intentional with the fact that you are trying to establish and maintain intimacy within the relationship. Also, be very clear on what you mean by intimacy. For some people, they only really include like physical activities in that, but intimacy can be and should be so much more. So when you're being intentional in carving out that time with your husband, carve out that time knowing how what you define intimacy as and what he defines intimacy as. Like y'all need to actually have a conversation about that. So you're not just wasting time, because if you're already tired, the last thing you want to do is waste your time. So be intentional and be very clear on how you're defining it. Another thing is, along with being intentional, create a routine. So it can be the smallest thing. And that's another one of my points, is that small moments matter. So even if you only set aside 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes every single night just to reconnect, not to talk about bills, definitely not to talk about them kids, not to talk about work, but just to talk to each other, that can grow into something really beautiful. If nothing else, it gives you insight into how your spouse is approaching different things. So let's say, even though you're not having a, discussion about what happened at work today, you may already have kind of like just a down quality about your speech, your movement, your posture, that as you think about it and you're able to trace back to what's the cause, that's what you share. And now he understands better that, oh, well, this is a thing that can lead to this type of response. Okay, so let me, number one, make sure I don't do this thing so I don't get this response. But also, when I see that response, I know that it could be stemming from this. So, what can I do to support? And the same from the other side, that when you get to know those things that, I don't want to say only the things that trigger him, but also the things that make him laugh, the things that make him smile, the things that make him feel needed, the things that make him feel valued. Like, the intimate moments are where you learn all of these things about each other. So start small. Start with just, a few minutes of just talk about something random. There's crazy amounts of card games, lists you can Google if you need some conversation starters until y'all get into your own rhythm. But whatever you do, you want it to be intentional and consistent. So I'm not going to just try to have an intimate moment with my husband for like 5 minutes today and then nothing else for the rest of the month. And then come November, here I am with a funky attitude because we feel distant. But I also wasn't putting forth no effort to make sure we were going to be good. So take your time with it, but do be intentional. And my last thing on that is self care will help you be a better wife. It will help you be more loving. It will help you be more caring. You know how? Because you will be taken care of. Let me explain. One of the things that I love to do is get my nails done. And to some people, that's super shallow and they can all kick rocks. Because to me, that is an hour and some change that someone is taking care of me, that I don't have to be wife, I don't have to be mom, I don't have to be, boss, I don't have to be anything. But truly, like, I just get to be me and someone's taking care of me. And then at the end of it, I like how my nails look. So, it's a win-win to me. And because I did that, I'm now in a better mood. So when I get home, I'm like, ooh, let me show you my nails. Like, ooh, let me just like rub your beard. Let me like scratch you like all up. And, like TMI, maybe a little bit, but I mean, it is what it is. So the fact that I took the time to make sure I was doing something for me helps when I'm now trying to do something for him or with him. There is a component, so I won't lie, there is a component of your spouse also pouring into you. However, the main focus should be you pouring into yourself, because if you don't care about you, how are you expecting somebody else to pick up that slack? Because they also need to be taking care of themselves. Like, and my husband is the happiest person ever when he goes to the barber. Like, he come back and it's just like, we about to be in this room. Like, and that's because he took the time to go do something that makes him feel relaxed, that makes him feel catered to, that makes him feel like, like, yeah, like when my wife see me, she gonna feel a type of way. And I'm like, yes, because then he comes home and he's trying to be all in my face. And I'm like, yes, come here, like, come do that. So make sure you're pouring into yourself, and it doesn't matter how shallow or superficial the thing is. In all honesty, if it does what it needs to do for you, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work for someone else. For some people, it's going shopping. Absolutely not. That stresses me out. For some people, it's getting their hair done. And like, I have the coolest loctician ever, but that for me doesn't do the same thing as the nails, even though I do enjoy getting that fresh retie. So, again, you want to just look at being intentional, setting a easy routine that the two of you can just kind of keep steady and keep consistent and slowly build it up. And you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the little moments, because small moments do matter in this. And of course, I will forever say self care is not selfish. You need it in order to show up in every other capacity at your best. You have to make sure you are good. You have to care for you. You have to take care of this vessel you were given. This is your temple. You keep it clean. You keep it up to snuff. Like that's on you. Yeah, somebody else can come sweep around the entrance a little bit, but baby, you got to clean the inside. Like that's on you. Can't nobody else go up in there and do that. So make sure, take care of yourself. Find that one thing that will make you feel just yes, and then go from there. All right, guys. I'll see y'all next week. Thanks for tuning in to Girl F Them Kids. If today's episode blessed you or got all up in your business, do me a favor and like, share it with a friend, and don't forget to leave a review. And sis, if you're ready to stop surviving and start thriving in your marriage and motherhood, let's talk. Book your coaching sales call with me at drtruecoaching.kit.com/connect. That's DRTRU coaching.kit.com/connect. Until next time, keep God first, your husband second, and girl, F them kids.